皆さん、こんにちは。みーさチャンネル資格ハンター編です。最新の英語ニュースを読み上げますので、英語の試験勉強やスキルアップにご活用ください。
Latest developments in Ukraine, March 6th. March 6th, 2022, 0:04 a.m. Update March 6th, 2022, 9:13 p.m. VOA News. Members and supporters of the Ukrainian community gathered to rally in support of Ukraine in Miami, Florida, on March 5, 2022. For full coverage of the crisis in Ukraine, visit Flashpoint Ukraine. For the latest developments of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, all times EST. 11:30 p.m. South Korean authorities said Monday that they will end the country's transactions with Russia's central bank. In a press release, Seoul's foreign ministry said South Korea's sanctions will be in line with U.S. financial sanctions, joining a global response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. 8:28 p.m. The administration of President Joe Biden has requested $10 billion in humanitarian, military, and economic support for Ukraine. The Congress intends to enact this emergency funding this week as part of our omnibus government funding legislation, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in a Sunday evening letter to fellow Democrats. See also: Ukraine set to get more military, humanitarian aid from U.S. 8:06 p.m. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said more than 20,000 people from 52 countries have already volunteered to fight in Ukraine, according to an Associated Press report. He said the foreign volunteers would serve in a newly created international legion, although he did not say how many of the foreign volunteers have arrived in Ukraine. The whole world today is on Ukraine's side not only in words but in deeds, Kuleba said on Ukrainian television Sunday night. 6:16 p.m. Russian forces stepped up their shelling of Ukrainian cities in the center, north and south of the country late Sunday, presidential advisor Alexei Arestovich said, according to an Associated Press report. The latest wave of missile strikes came as darkness fell, he said on Ukrainian television. He said the areas that came under heavy shelling include the outskirts of Kyiv, Chernihiv in the north, Mykolaiv in the south, and Kharkiv, the country's second-largest city. 5:30 p.m. Britain is releasing another $100 million to help Ukraine, Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced Sunday and promised fresh efforts to rally international opinion against Russia's invasion, according to Agence France-Presse. The $100 million, to be provided via the World Bank, is in addition to the $290 million of overall aid support to Ukraine, said a statement from Downing Street. The new funding will go towards keeping key state functions operating, it added, according to AFP. 4:05 p.m., Netflix said on Sunday that it was suspending its service in Russia, according to Reuters. A statement from the company cited circumstances on the ground for its decision to suspend its Russian service but didn't offer any additional details. 2:54 p.m. TikTok said Sunday that users won't be able to post new videos in Russia in response to the government's crackdown on social media, according to the Associated Press. In light of Russia's new fake news law, we have no choice but to suspend live streaming and new content to our video service while we review the safety implications of this law, the company said in a statement on Twitter. Our in-app messaging service will not be affected. 1:57 p.m. U.S. credit card and payments giant American Express said Sunday it is suspending its operations in Russia and Belarus over Moscow's unjustified attack on Ukraine, the latest financial services blow to Russia over its invasion, according to Agence France-Presse. The move follows card payment titans Visa and MasterCard, which had announced Saturday they will suspend operations in Russia. 1:30 p.m. A day after many of them spoke with Ukraine's president, U.S. lawmakers are pledging to provide additional military aid to Kyiv as the government there continues to fight for its survival amid the invasion by Russia. VOA's Steve Herman has the story. See also: Ukraine set to get more military, humanitarian aid from U.S. 1:23 p.m. VOA's photo gallery chronicles some of the latest developments following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Photo gallery. In photos, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, March 6, 2022. 1:06 p.m. The International Atomic Energy Agency says management at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is under orders from the commander of Russian forces controlling the site. Russian forces seized the nuclear plant last week. 12:32 p.m. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has pledged Washington's support to Moldova, a small, Western-leaning former Soviet republic that is contending with an influx of refugees from neighboring Ukraine. RFE/RL has the details. See also: Blinken pledges U.S. support to Moldova amid refugee influx from Ukraine. 11:29 a.m. A monitoring group says the number of people detained at anti-war protests across Russia on Sunday has risen to nearly 4,000. 10:40 a.m. The ICRC Director General commented on the failed civilian evacuations from Mariupol, saying he was sad and disappointed. 10:30 a.m. The UN Human Rights Office says it has confirmed 364 civilian deaths and 759 injuries in Ukraine since Russia invaded the country on February 24, although it says the true figures are likely to be considerably higher. 10 a.m. The International Organization for Migration is calling on governments to stop discriminating against third country nationals trying to flee conflict in Ukraine to neighboring countries. Lisa Schlein reports for VOA from Geneva. See also: UN agency calls for end to discrimination against third country nationals fleeing Ukraine. 9:45 a.m. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told CNN's State of the Union show that Washington is investigating reports of Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilians that could constitute war crimes. 8:56 a.m. The International Committee of the Red Cross says a second attempt to start evacuating some 200,000 people from the city of Mariupol failed on Sunday. The failed attempts yesterday and today underscore the absence of a detailed and functioning agreement between the parties to the conflict, an ICRC statement said. 7:30 a.m. A monitoring group says more than 1,000 people have been detained in anti-war protests in Russia Sunday. The OVD Info Group said protests were held in some 30 cities across the country. 7 a.m. The United Nations says more than 1.5 million have fled Ukraine since Russia invaded the country. 6:45 a.m. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to declare a ceasefire in Ukraine during a phone call Sunday. Erdogan emphasized the importance of taking urgent steps to achieve a ceasefire, open humanitarian corridors and sign a peace agreement, his office said. 5:41 a.m. Pakistani Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi dismissed suggestions his country's neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict is straining Islamabad's relationship with the United States or the West at large, in an interview Sunday with VOA. Ayaz Gul has the story. See also: Pakistan vows neutrality in Ukraine crisis, insists ties with U.S. on track. 4:38 a.m. Ukrainian orphans flee the invasion. Reuters has the story. 3:42 a.m. The BBC reports there's a new ceasefire in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. 3:23 a.m. U.S. President Joe Biden said during his State of the Union speech Tuesday night, addressing Russian oligarchs, that they wouldn't have their yachts, their private jets, and their luxury apartments long. We are coming for your ill-begotten gains, he said. Seizing the behemoth boats could prove challenging. Russian billionaires have had decades to shield their money and assets in the West from governments that might try to tax or seize them. See also. Fleeing sanctions, oligarchs seek safe ports for superyachts. 2:30 a.m., CNN reports that the Ukrainian city of Mariupol has no power or water. The BBC reports that the city is on the verge of a humanitarian catastrophe. 1:40 a.m., charities are having trouble getting aid through to Ukraine. ABC News has the story. 1 a.m., people in Taiwan show their support. Slavic people living in Taiwan display posters during a protest against Russia's military invasion of Ukraine at the Free Square outside the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall on March 6, 2022. 12:35 a.m., she married an American in the U.S. on Saturday. On Monday, she plans to fly to Poland, then head to Ukraine to fight for her home country. The Associated Press has the story. See also. Ukrainian woman weds Chicago fiancé ahead of return home. 12:02 a.m., the Associated Press reports, the already challenging path to bringing home Americans jailed in Russia and Ukraine is likely even more complicated now with a war overwhelming the region and increasingly hostile relations between the United States and the Kremlin. See also. War in Ukraine complicates path home for American detainees. Some information in this report came from the Associated Press, Reuters, and Agence France-Presse.
以上で今回のミーサチャンネルは終了です。最後までご視聴いただきましてありがとうございました。よろしければ高評価とチャンネル登録をよろしくお願いします。